It's Ash from Super Videos, back for another video for The Last of Us on HBO. On this video, we're going to be taking a look at some recent teasers that they released for the show. I'm going to be putting all of these teasers together and doing a full breakdown of all of the teasers. There's a bunch of very interesting details in this teaser trailer that I do want to talk about. Some of these relate to stuff from the video game, Easter eggs and callbacks to the game, and there are some very interesting hints about what to expect for the TV adaptation of the show. So stay tuned, we'll be right back to break it all down. Alright, as always, before we dive into it, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. With that said, let's dive right into it. So, first things first, obviously I did release a trailer breakdown a few days ago, but that was deleted by accident, and I couldn't recover the deleted file, so I did have to re-record this. However, there are some details that I even missed in my initial discussion, which I'm gonna go through here. So in a way, it's a good thing that I had to re-record this, because there's some very interesting new details that I did notice when putting all of this together again that I missed the first time around. Now, I tried to put these in the sequence that makes logical sense and also grouped similar things together so that this video is easier to go through. Anyway, first, let's start with some atmospheric title card shots. This one shows a post-apocalyptic city with Joel and Ellie walking through the road. We have another title card here. We have Ellie on top of some sort of cliff looking at the northern lights, which is pretty cool. We see Joel and Ellie looking at a bunch of skulls and skeletons on the ground. Now we're gonna go through the screen caps that I have for things in the teaser related to the prologue of the video game. This, which is directly from the game, we have Tommy, Joel, and his daughter Sarah in a car. They're trying to get out of town. They're passing by a burning house just like the game. And then we have this shot of Tommy talking to Joel. He says they're saying it's a virus, some kind of parasite. They're obviously talking about the cordyceps fungus that caused the apocalyptic universe of The Last of Us. Now, when it comes to the virus, there are some very interesting details about that. We're going to get the origin story for the fungus. I did a separate video on this already, but we will see a scene that teases the origin story for the fungus. Then we have this shot of the three of them. So Joel, Tommy, and Sarah. They're obviously trying to get out of the populated town right here, and we can see that they're looking through the back and they see a plane crashing, so that's definitely super interesting. And then we have this cool shot of a car crashing into another car, and we have obviously Tommy, Sarah, and Joel. Obviously Joel is probably trying to protect Sarah. Now, we did see an accident in the video game which led to the three of them having to go on foot, which led to the saddest moment of the game at the beginning in the prologue. So I'm assuming this is leading up to that. And then we have this shot of Tommy and Joel. They're looking at an infected, I'm assuming, feasting on a survivor. This is either before they get to the town or after. Doesn't really matter. And then we have this one of Joel with Sarah in his arms looking at someone who had just turned into an infected. We don't see Tommy with him, so I'm assuming this is around the time when Tommy is staying behind, and then Joel and Sarah are running to safety. And then we have this one, which is related to that. And then we have this one. We have a light shining on Joel holding his daughter Sarah. I'm assuming this is the moment from the prologue that ends the prologue, the saddest moment of the prologue. And then we have this scene, which is in a lab. We have a scientist in a full hazmat suit gear. They're looking at what appears to be like the fungus, probably the cordyceps fungus. So this is definitely teasing that we're going to get the backstory of how the fungus spread and how the apocalyptic world of The Last of Us started. And then we have this shot, which is actually from the quarantine zone chapter. We have the gates of the quarantine zone opening. And then we have this cool shot of Ellie in the quarantine zone. It's raining. She's hiding her face and walking away. Now, we did see in the DLC, I believe, of the video game, Ellie sneaking out and trying to explore the outside world. So I'm assuming that this is connected to that. Then we have this shot, which is cool. Obviously, this is connected directly to the DLC, where we had Ellie and her friend Riley going into the abandoned mall. So we have just that, Ellie in the abandoned mall. That's pretty cool. We have Riley here, her friend. They're at the merry-go-round that was also featured in the DLC. So this is directly from the video game. And then we have the two of them making faces in front of the booth at the mall, just like the game again. So that's pretty awesome. And then we have the two of them in what appears to be a Halloween shop. Again, just like the video game. So this is a direct adaptation right here. Like the whole story with Ellie and Riley will probably be very, very, very close to how it went down in the video game. And then we have Ellie making a mess in that same Halloween shop. Now let's take a look at some things, which is an exclusive story for the TV adaptation, which is the expansion of the backstory of the group known as the Hunters. We did see the Hunters in the video game, but they didn't really focus on them too much, especially not their backstory. But in the TV adaptation, we are in fact going to see an expanded story, and we're probably going to see how the group formed. So we see the Hunters here. We have a female character in front, who I'm assuming is their leader. We see her here as well with the other Hunters. They're in the city center, and we see some of their military jeeps and vehicles here, which is pretty awesome. And then we have this, which is pretty cool. So we have the Hunters and a bunch of people, which I'm assuming are civilians. They are celebrating, and the Hunters are shooting their guns up in the air as a form of celebration. It's like a victory celebration. I'm assuming this is part of the backstory for the Hunters, and it's gonna show us how they took over the city and how they basically took the city out of the control of the Fedra soldiers, which definitely was mentioned sort of in the video game, but they didn't show it. Now, the next thing we're going to look at is also something that's exclusive to the TV show. We can see here someone with their baby. Obviously, this is actually Ashley Johnson, the voice actress for Ellie in the video game. So that's pretty cool that we have her in the show as well. Now, what character is she portraying? She's actually portraying the character of Anna, Ellie's mother, who is mentioned in the game, but we didn't see her. So this is definitely super awesome, and obviously the baby is Ellie. So we're gonna see Ellie being born, which is super cool. And then we have this shot of an infected attacking someone. I think the infected is actually attacking this character here, who's obviously Anna. Now we're gonna take a look at some scenes with Marlene, the member of the Fireflies, and also Ellie. So we have Marlene here talking to Ellie. She says, "This cannot be repeated to anyone." I'm assuming that she's referring to things that she's telling Ellie, and I'm assuming that that's about Ellie's condition, which is obviously that she's immune. So Marlene is telling her, you don't repeat this to anyone because it would be dangerous. And then she says, if you do, you will die. So if you repeat this to anyone, you will probably get killed in some way, shape, or form. And then we have Ellie here looking at Marlene, same scene. And then we have Marlene and another member of the Fireflies, I'm assuming, here. So now we're going to take a look at a sequence of scenes related to the story between Joel, Ellie, and Tess. The story with the three of them trying to get Ellie to the west, where the Fireflies lab is. Obviously, if you played the game, you know about the Fireflies, but if you're not a video game player, the Fireflies are a group of people that are looking for a cure, and obviously Ellie, because of her condition, will be an asset to them. So what happens in the game, Tess gets Joel to smuggle Ellie out of the quarantine zone and to the west. In the TV adaptation, they're probably going to go to Kansas City. It's where the Fireflies lab is located. We have these scenes with a soldier pointing the gun at Joel and Ellie. I'm assuming this is the scene in the game where the soldiers are trying to scan the survivors to see if they're infected or not. And this is obviously in the video game the moment where Joel first learns about Ellie's condition. But obviously we have the soldier there. I'm assuming Tess is also there with them. And then Joel attacks the soldier and starts beating the hell out of the soldier. And then we have a few scenes with Joel and Ellie talking. This is probably after Joel learns about Ellie's condition, but he tells her, if I'm taking you with me, there are some rules you gotta follow. Rule 1, we gotta keep our histories to ourselves. Rule 2, you don't tell anyone about your condition. Rule 3, you do what I say when I say it. Are we clear? To which Ellie replies with, what you say goes. I think Joel said those exact things and basically laid out those exact rules to Ellie in the game as well. So that's a direct dialogue from the game. And then we have this shot of Ellie showing her arm. We can see obviously that she was infected, but she didn't turn, she didn't get sick. And in the voiceover, Joel is saying that exact thing. She got infected, but she didn't get sick. We have this as well, which is, I think, Joel looking at Ellie's arm. And in the voiceover, Joel says, she's immune. We have Ellie here lifting up her sleeve to show her arm to Tess, I'm assuming. And then she says, out west, they're working on a cure. This goes back to what I said. The Fireflies are in the west. They're working on a cure. We have this shot of Tess telling Ellie, we're trying to keep you alive. Now, next things we're going to look at are actually, again, with the three of them, Joel, Ellie, and Tess, but they're in some sort of a museum where they're going to be confronted by a few clickers and infected. We saw that exact story in the video game as well, so it's a direct adaptation of that part of the story. So we have the three of them going up the stairs here, and this is obviously probably the museum. And then we have this shot which shows the staircase. We can see a bunch of people dead on the ground. We have a few infected, a few clickers and stuff like that. And then we have this, Joel shining the light on the walls and seeing the cordyceps fungus on the walls. And then we have Joel here walking up the stairs. And then this shot of Ellie shining the light on some bodies on the ground and then stepping on an arm. We have this shot of Ellie. This is probably at the museum as well. And then we have Joel here, Ellie here. Again, look at the background. It's obvious that this is the museum. And then we have the three of them in some sort of a tunnel trying to keep quiet. And then we see this shot which is connected to that. And then we see this shot of the three of them being confronted by a clicker that's walking around. We saw this exact type of scene in the game as well. So this is a direct adaptation. We have Joel telling Ellie to be quiet, and then we can see the clicker coming around the corner. Joel screams run. This is probably when the clicker attacks them. And then we have Joel pulling Ellie away, probably because there's an infected or a clicker attacking. So we see that here as well. We have Ellie crawling here, and then we have the clicker running towards them. And then we have this shot which is a clicker attacking someone. That's probably Joel that the clicker is attacking, and we know that because of the watch. And I think that's Ellie trying to push the clicker away. And then we have a close-up shot of the clicker. Next, we're going to take a look at a few scenes that I think are connected to the final dialogue between Tess and Joel. This is right before Tess ends up getting attacked. I'm not going to go through details. Obviously, if you've played the game, you know what I'm talking about. But we have this shot of the two of them talking. This is our chance. Keep her alive. Save who you can save. They're obviously referring to Ellie, trying to keep her alive. And then she says, you get her there and you set everything right. By her, they're obviously talking about Ellie again. And when they're talking about getting her there, they're talking about getting her to the west where the Fireflies lab is. We have Joel here. Now look at the background. This matches the exact location that they were at in the video game. The location where Tess ended up getting attacked and ended up kind of sacrificing herself. So that's super cool that they're keeping that exactly just like the game. We see this one as well, which is a bunch of people running. I'm assuming those are the infected. That's Tess obviously looking at them. The location, again, matches the exact same location. Now we're going to take a look at a few scenes with Bill and the story in Bill's town. Now first, one major change is we're going to get a backstory of Bill and his partner. Obviously, we didn't see in the game. In the game, we only saw Bill's partner's dead body, but we didn't see him. But in the TV show, they're going to show what happened to him. So we can see here Bill pointing the gun at someone, and that someone is his partner right here. I'm assuming this is the first time they meet. So it's a backstory type of episode. It's a flashback. And then we can see this right here, Bill with his rifle. And if you obviously look at the background, it looks like this is Bill's town. It's raining and everything. And we can see here Bill's partner running towards him here. And there appeared to be some sort of explosion because there's fires everywhere. And then we can see him helping Bill get away. Again, it's raining, so I'm assuming these are all related and part of the same scene. And then we can see this right here. We can see Bill's partner, but he's sweating, and it looks like maybe this is when he ends up getting killed. And I'm thinking now he might not die the same exact way in the TV show that he did in the game. They could keep that the same, but maybe not. Maybe he just got infected and got killed in the TV adaptation. We can see Bill here taking off his mask, just like the game. This is probably when he first sees Joel and Ellie for the first time, so that's super cool. And then we can see this right here, which is a Shambler walking up. Now, the first time we saw a Shambler was in Bill's town in the game, so I'm assuming that they're going to keep that the same, and that's when we're going to see our first Shambler in the TV adaptation as well. Next, what we're going to take a look at is scenes related to Joel and Ellie being ambushed by a gang in the city. So we can see this right here. They crash into some sort of a building. And then we can see right here, Joel and Ellie sitting by the car. This is a direct adaptation of a scene that was in the game as well. So that's super cool. Joel loading his rifle here to attack the people that ambushed them. Next, we're going to look at scenes related to Joel and Ellie coming across Sam and Henry. So we have Sam and Henry right here. So this is probably going to be an emotionally charged scene. Then we have Sam and Henry running away from a truck that's approaching, but we don't see Joel, so that's super interesting. But we do see the three of them running away. Ellie here shooting that truck that's coming after them. Next, we're going to take a look at scenes related to the story in the game where Ellie is captured by David and his men. So we have this right here, David in the front with his men. Now, obviously, we do see one of David's men is portrayed by none other than Troy Baker. Troy Baker being the voice actor for Joel in the video game. So that's super cool. We not only have Ashley Johnson in the TV show, but also Troy Baker. Ellie here riding on the horse, trying to get away. I'm assuming this is when she's attacked by David's men. We have this right here, which is obviously the character portrayed by Troy Baker. And then he's looking at, I'm assuming, Ellie. So this is probably when they capture Ellie. We have Ellie in the jail cell. David's looking at her. This is, again, a direct adaptation of the game. Things happen the same way in the game. Now, we don't see Joel here, just like the game. But with that said, there appears to be some changes that they're making in terms of how his injury comes about. And I'll explain what I mean by that. But obviously, we have David here trying to intimidate Ellie, just like the game. So that's super cool. Then we have this, which is Ellie looking at someone. I'm assuming that this is the moment where Joel gets injured. I could be wrong, but I think this is that moment. Now, I don't know if this happens before Ellie comes across David's men or after. Then we have this scene, which I'm assuming is Ellie and Joel, and I'm assuming that this is when Joel gets injured and Ellie is taking care of him. I could be wrong, but I think that's what this is. But then we have this shot, which is Joel and Ellie in the winter time. They're crossing a bridge. Now, one thing I do want to mention is we didn't see in the game Joel and Ellie traveling together in the winter time. Joel was injured at that time. So this is definitely one change that they're making. Now, what is definitely not clear is whether this is before Joel's injury or after, and also whether this is before or after David and his men capture Ellie. So all of those are definitely still question marks that we have to wait to get answers for. But then we have this scene with a group of men on horses riding towards someone, and we do see later that they're actually surrounding Joel and Ellie. So Joel and Ellie get captured here. Now, originally I thought that they're getting captured by David's men, but that's probably not what's going to happen, because looking at the people around, they definitely match the people that we see in the background in scenes related to Jackson. Now, obviously in the video game, in part 1, Jackson wasn't featured, but in the TV adaptation, we are going to see Jackson. We're going to see Tommy and Joel reunite in Jackson, unlike the game where they reunite at Tommy's dam. So that's definitely one change that they're making. Now, if you are asking how do I know this is Jackson, just read the name of the store in the background. It says something about Jackson. So this is obviously Jackson. For this channel, because we've been covering a lot of the behind the scenes, I have further proof that this is Jackson, but this should be enough for now, for you to believe me that this is Jackson. But looking at the background, it looks like those are the same exact men that were surrounding Joel and Ellie. So I'm assuming that they surround Joel and Ellie, capture them, bring them to Jackson, and that's where Joel and Tommy are reunited. Who knows, maybe originally they think that Joel is a threat because they don't know him, but then they learn later that he is Tommy's brother. Something along those lines. Then we're going to take a look at some random scenes here and there. So this one shows Joel and Ellie talking. Joel says there's always something bad out there. Infected, raiders, clickers. So just talking about the threats that are out there. Human and non-human threats alike. And then we have Ellie here saying, we have a job to do. After everything we've been through, there's no halfway with this. We finish what we started. So she's obviously talking about trying to get her to the west where the Fireflies lab is, where they're working on a cure. And then we have this scene, which is super cool. We have Ellie finding a knife in a drawer and grabbing it. So this is definitely a callback or an Easter egg to the game. We saw a lot of scenes similar to this in the game because it was obviously a game and you had to find supplies and stuff like that and scavenge the buildings and stuff. So this is definitely a cool callback to that. And I'm assuming the way this is shot, like the angle, is on purpose, and it's a way to make you think about the game because the angles are very similar to what they would have used in the game. We have Joel here sneaking into a federal base. We have seen a lot of this sort of thing in the game as well, so that's super cool. And then we have Joel here loading up his sniper rifle and shooting someone. I'm assuming this is related to the scene with Joel and Ellie going into that town. They're attacked by someone with a sniper rifle. I could be wrong, but I think this is part of that. I think they were even the hunters that attacked them, if I'm not wrong. And then we have Joel here hitting someone with something, maybe an infected, maybe a clicker, maybe a survivor, maybe a soldier. We have Joel and Ellie sneaking around in an alleyway here. We have the two of them here as well. We have this scene of the two of them, and in the voiceover, Ellie says, everybody I've cared for has either died or left me, referring to not just her mother probably, but also Riley and everyone else that was close to her. And then we have this, which is some sort of an explosion going off, and then this as well, which is again another type of explosion. That appears to be Tess, but I don't know for sure. So we're gonna have to wait and see if that ends up being Tess. But that's pretty much everything that I wanted to go through. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash the like button, subscribe to join our community, and press the bell to be notified when I upload on the channel. That's it for this video. See you next time for another super video.